yesterday.
Which one?
About Midrashim and maybe that was the day before yesterday.
Literal interpretation versus figurative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned something about humility,
Hmm.
and the way I've thought about it for a while, and I'm open to reconsidering, but in my perception, it shows greater humility to accept the tradition even in its most fantastical elements. Not to be like foolish, like do I think that a mouse has whiskers because a cat poked his hand through the hole and scratched it?
Did it say that somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're laughing.
What?
So you're laughing about it.
What?
I'm asking you why.
No, there are some things that are like a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah, and therefore?
Therefore, I think they're to teach us something.
Good. Okay.
But some things I'm not at a level where I'm willing to completely give up the literal interpretation.
Good, because some of them are meant to be taken literal. We mentioned that as well.
Okay. Like the creation story in the Bereshit.
Yeah.
The world was created in 6 days and the seventh day. Like, if every day in God's act of creation was like an eon or 1,000 years,
Right.
why would we celebrate Shabbat for one day? Why wouldn't we celebrate Shabbat for 1,000 years? Right?
Right.
And that's just one thing. But I do like, I don't know, I was reading this Garta compilation of the Midrashim. It's called Legends of the Jews.
Hmm.
You heard of it?
Yes. Ginsburg.
It's who?
Ginsburg.
Ginsburg.
We put it together. He's the editor.
Okay. And
It's famous.
and there's some really interesting and
And
fantastic
amazing stuff in
things.
Midrash, no question about it. And you're right, it's a tricky business to know which ones to take literally or not. So the Rambam, I quoted, makes no bones about don't be an idiot, and don't think the sages are an idiot. I think that was his main point. Is if you take everything literally, then you're going to think they're idiots, and they're not idiots. They're very wise. So the trick is, though, and that remains up till today, a tricky business. Which parts of the midrash do we take literally, which are giving us, historical traditions that were passed down, and they know things that we don't know, and which ones are actually messages, like you said, that they're giving us moral messages, they're giving us spiritual messages. It's tricky. I agree. And I don't think wholesale you should just write off all the midrashim and say, "Oh, it's just a mashal, it's just a parable," just like the Tanakh itself. I agree. Listen, clearly it's open to interpretation. We've been interpreting the Torah for 3,000 years, and there are a wide range of interpretations. Not everybody agrees on which parts have to be taken literally. Which parts are taken spiritually. At the end of the day, we study the Torah as the Word of God, and when it comes to halacha, of course, we follow our tradition. And we can continue to argue. We continue to argue about, which sections are more literal and which are less. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, I do notice that my approach as of late, I came to just take everything at face value. I don't think that's the best approach, but coming from where I was at, which in my life, in my development, I became very agnostic, and I was very science-based in my conception of the universe. And I thought that, I was being I'm the one up on the people.
Right.
So
Smarter,
knowledgeable.
right, definitely.
And then what I realized was that was stemming from a place of arrogance.
Right.
And that just as a person of faith accepts the Torah, people have faith in science and that, we have our current level of conception of the universe.
Right.
And the average science believer doesn't read the document, doesn't read the theories and the proofs, right? They just take everything at face value. So it's the same thing. So I'm like, what's the word? Like rebounded, like off that wall where I was very, in my mind, arrogant about my perception of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, switching to saying, like, I don't know anything. Only God knows, God gave the Torah, He knows everything, I know nothing. That's like, to me, my idea of walking with humility.
It's a good place to start. It's a good place to start.
And
Very good place to
start.
start. That's a good place to start. Good. Yafe. Okay, we're going to start the class now, so our discussion will have to continue another day. Good morning, Binyamin.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Gedalia. How are you?
I'm great.
You feeling okay? Yesterday you were out a little bit.
Yeah.
Was it stomach issues or something?
No, I think we need a
Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm just getting over mine. So, Baruch Hashem. Hananel! מה שלומך? יופי. ישראל, אני שואל אותך, מה שלומך? What do you answer to מה שלומך? Shalom comes peace, meaning, how are you doing? How is your peace? So you could answer, Shlomi, my state. Shlomi, tov. Or lo tov. Depends. Okay, we went over some basic greetings yesterday. Kedai wasn't here. And, but you know this stuff.
Yeah, I hope so.
איך קוראים לך?
כדאי.
איך קוראים לך? קוראים לי מנחם. מצוין. Let's get started on Hilchot Pesach. I want to move ahead because again, I'm trying to be smart about this. We have a lot to learn about Pesach. And we have a very short time after Purim. So we're going to go back and do some more about Purim next week, B'ezrat Hashem, when we get closer to Purim itself. But in the meantime, let's open up the books of Hilchot Pesach and learn about, the truth is a lot of the laws we've been learning up till now is about preparing for Pesach. Preparing for Pesach is a big part of the holiday. And then, B'ezrat Hashem, after we're done with that, then we can talk about celebrating the holiday, on the holiday itself. So please open up to chapter, in your Pnei Halacha, book of the Laws of Pesach, it's chapter 10. Chapter 10 is about how to kosher your kitchen. Your kitchen, of course you're going to get rid of all the chametz, that we already spoke about. You got to scrub and clean and make sure that you don't have even one drop, especially in the kitchen. We said more so than the rest of the house. Maybe you can get away with, just looking for big pieces and nullifying the rest, or spoiling the rest with some cleaning liquid. If you remember, we gave you that pro tip that the rest of the house, you don't really have to work that hard as long as you carefully check that there's no big pieces, and then the rest of the big pieces, whatever's left, either you rely on the law that you just nullify them, or if you want to make sure that you have no drop of chametz, which is an edible drop of chametz, you just use some cleaning liquid, spray, wipe it down, nothing left there is going to be chametz. All that's good, we said, except for the kitchen. The kitchen, you have to be more careful, because if you have one drop of chametz there, it may revive. Even if it's not edible at that time, it may revive if you put it into some water or if it falls into your food. And so that's one issue that we have in the kitchen, is that it's near food and you're going to be eating near there and foodstuffs could get mixed up. But also, the issue is the dishes. Now, I've had people, serious people, who say to me, listen, I eat kosher, but when I go over to somebody's house, as long as he serves me kosher food, I don't care about his dishes. I don't eat the dishes. I'm not eating his dishes. I'm eating the food. So I'm keeping kosher. Makes some sense. However, we have a system the rabbis set up, and it's based on reality, that the food that we eat, many times, it actually enters into the vessels. They're porous. Our vessels are porous. Some are more, some are less. The rabbis pretty much made a standard, and they assume that if it's cold, there's not going to be any transfer of taste from your food into a vessel, or from the vessel into the food. But if you have heat involved, hot water, fire, whatever, if there's heat, especially liquid that is hot past a certain degree, then that will facilitate transfer of taste from one medium to the other, from the food to the dishes, or from the dishes, including the cutlery, to the food. And so that's why most Jewish homes, you know this already, there are two separate sets of dishes and cutlery. One for Bisari and one for Chalavi. Now the tricky part of this is perhaps you should have 3 sets of dishes or even 4 sets of dishes, because you need one for Bisari and Chalavi during the week, during the year, and one Bisari and Chalavi for use during Pesach, the 1 week of Pesach. You have to make sure that your dishes and your cutlery have no taste, absorbed taste of chametz in them. And of course they do, because all year round you eat chametz with those dishes and cutlery. And so, again, depending on which dishes they are, if at any time they were in contact with a heat source, with something that's over a certain degree of heat, then they probably absorbed some taste of that, delicious kugel you had, and there were some breadcrumbs in the kugel. There was some bread. It's a secret, by the way. You may not notice that, but in many quiches, and even, believe it or not, schnitzels, they stick in some bread just to beef it up. Anyways, there's lots of chametz in everything that we eat, and it enters your dishes. So you can't use the same dishes on Pesach. The only problem is that is so expensive to have 4 sets of dishes, and we haven't even talked about the counters and the ovens and if you have that, some people I know actually have 4 kitchens. A Bisari kitchen for the year, and a Chalavi kitchen for the year, separate rooms, totally. And another separate Pesach kitchen, 2 Pesach kitchens, one for the Bisari Pesach, one for the Chalavi Pesach. But these are millionaires. These are people that build their houses, made to order, and that's very rare. Most people can't afford to do that. They don't have the space for that. They don't have the money for that, and you don't have to do that. So what do? Well, just like during the year, we have the same kitchen, but we have a set of Pesach, Chalavi dishes, a set of Bisari dishes, Milchik and Fleisha, to use the Yiddish, or meat and dairy. We have a separate set of dishes. Some people have a separate sink. Some people have separate counters. Some people have separate ovens. Each one, so they don't mix the meat and milk, because we know this is one of the prohibitions of the Torah. Some people have one Pesach kitchen where they have 2 sides, and most people don't have a separate kitchen. They just have one kitchen. What do? The week of Pesach. Cleaning is not enough. Cleaning is not enough, because there's going to be taste of chametz absorbed in the dishes, and in the counters, and in the ovens. That's more than cleaning it.
So blowtorch.
So, no. I don't like a blowtorch. You can use a blowtorch, but we'll talk about how to do it. But yes, the simple answer is there is a system, there's a method in halacha for taking out all the chametz taste from your kitchen, dishes, counters, cutlery, everything, and then it'll be neutral. and then you can use it for Pesach foods without any chametz in it, and that's called in English kashering. In Hebrew, hachshara. Hachshara, the same word, kosher is in there. Hachsharat kelim. Many times, measuring vessels, correct? Right. We have koshering livers and koshering meat and there's a way to kosher lots of things, but koshering a kitchen, koshering dishes, so we call it hachsharat kelim, the kosherizing of vessels. And if you look at the chapter title, chapter 10, it doesn't use that word. It says the principles of, no, you're looking at chapter 11, Gedalia. Chapter 10 is called the principles of Haga'alat Kelim. Haga'alah is a different word. Haga'alah is one of the methods. We're going to see that there's two methods, two primary methods, three. Okay, I'll put it on the board. Can I erase this? I don't know. Micha. איך קוראים לך? איך קוראים לך?
קוראים לי לך.
קוראים לי מיכה, יופי. בנימין, מה שמך?
מי?
שמי.
שמי.
What's your name? Forgot your name?
I'm confused.
What's your name?
My name is Benjamin.
So say Shemi.
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
But I was thinking something.
Alright, something was stuck. Anyways, I think we can erase this.
I took a picture of it.
Sorry, you take a picture. Yes, it's been in a group chat as well. Anyways. Okay. Everybody take out a piece of paper, please. And a pen. Do we have enough pens here, Gedalia? You're in charge.
No, it's way too far.
You're what?
How much is it?
Here's some papers, some cute papers from Bubby.
Come on. Yeah, of course.
Israel, do you have a pen?
Yeah. You have a paper?
Do you have a pen?
I do. I don't have a pen. I have a.
I can use this one then.
Oh. Oh, very kind. So you give yours to me?
You want this one?
No. No. I appreciate it that you ask first,
Oh.
then you take.
Shetifa. Fancy. Chachshara. Kosher. Agala. Spoiling.
Shetifa. Shetifa.
Okay, 4 words, 4 Hebrew words on the board. I'll write them in Hebrew if you like. Please copy them over. Copy them over. I will. Gedalia, write the 4 words here on these cards after you write them down in the notebook, please. Okay, let me know when you've written it down. Use the script. Get used to writing script. Hachshara. It's like kasher, the word hakshara, like kosher. Making it kosher. I'll add one more word. Sometimes we speak about kelim. Kelim are vessels. That's the title. Kelim. The koshering of vessels. Libun, yes. Libun. Boker Tov, do you have a pen? Get one. Oh! Hanan, I'll turn on the light, please. Thank you. You wrote them all down, Hanana? Perfect. The translation on the other side, yeah. Thank you.
If I put a mem in the end
Of which word?
libun,
Libun. No, it's
be something else?
it's something else. It means something else. The nun has to be there. It's part of the word.
No,
It's not just a plural.
I know. But I ask you what it means if I change.
I take one of these.
Nothing really. Yeah, sure. Well, those are all double-sided, I think. Find one that's not double-sided. But you can use this if you want. Bobby's reminders. Page here. Micha. It's funny, one of the examples the Rambam brings, he talks about Midrashim, being taken literally, he says, people speak sometimes in exaggeration and they say like fantastical things, like a boat that flies in the air, like that's of course fantastical. Of course we have them now, they're called airplanes. It's amazing. That was his example of something that's purely fantastical. It's hilarious. Sometimes fantasy turns into reality. We live in a very amazing age. So having humility is important. Another example I'd like to bring is, it says that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a shofar blast that is heard from one end of the universe to the other. Surely that's just a metaphor, right? And you know what Rav Aryeh Kaplan says? It just means there'll be a live broadcast on the internet. You have a simultaneous broadcast all over the world, they hear it. So what used to be interpreted as metaphor, maybe, can actually be in reality with our new technology. Who knows? You would still consider that to be a metaphor because, it's not the actual sound of the shofar, it's the internet, and But the idea is that the world can hear about things immediately and be impressed all at once, and that's a reality of today. It's nothing against. We're not the Amish against the use of technology.
Gedalia, were you the one who didn't want any flat screen TVs in the third Beit HaMikdash?
Right.
I said with Gedalia.
Could be that's the way that we're gonna get our instructions in the Beit HaMikdash. Little flat screen TVs. Who
I
knows?
got peace offerings over here.
For sure.
This is gonna be.
Are you kidding? We're gonna have all chips. It's all gonna be automatically. It'll buzz if you go in the wrong direction. Whatever.
Bring your half shackle.
Okay, you're done. See, Achshara.
Oh, I think it's traditional.
Yeah, no problem. Shtifa. It's rinsing. Rigun. Firing. And Allah. Boiling. Good. Good. Excellent. Thank you very much. Good. Okay. Everybody, pay attention. We're going to get started. The chapter 10 on page 121. I'm already telling you the title is imprecise, right? Because the title of the chapter is the principles of Haga'alat Kelim. So what you see is he's interchanging. He should be using this word, Hachsharat Kelim. And instead he's using boiling. That's only one of the methods of koshering your dishes, right? It's only one method. There are other methods of which are going to be discussed in this chapter. So, but we do sometimes use this word as interchangeable for the concept of Hachsharat Kelim, and you go somewhere to get your dishes kosherized for Pesach, and you go to the place and they call themselves, the big sign is Haga'alat Kelim, because we're going to see that's perhaps the most easiest method and the primary method used, Haga'alah, but it is a little imprecise because there's actually three methods of making things kosher for Pesach and getting rid of whatever taste they have in them. Okay? Let's go. Micha, you read for us.
Though the walls of pots and other vessels appear solid and impervious, they actually absorb the taste of food cooked in them. Thus, if one cooks non-kosher meat in a pot, its flavor gets absorbed into the pot's walls. And kosher meat subsequently cooked in the same pot becomes forbidden, as the non-kosher taste absorbed in the walls is released and absorbed by the meat.
Okay.
However, there is a principle that anything which contributes foul taste, tend to leave gal, does not cause other foods to become forbidden. For example, if a bit of foul-tasting non-kosher meat falls into some kosher meat, the meat may be eaten since the non-kosher taste is foul. The same applies to taste absorbed by vessels. Moreover, the rule is that any taste absorbed by a vessel becomes foul after 24 hours. Therefore, if non-kosher meat is cooked in a pot and 24 hours later kosher food is cooked in the same pot, the latter dish remains kosher because the taste in the pot is foul, and foul taste is not under food forbidden. However, it is forbidden lechatchila to use a pot that has absorbed non-kosher taste, even after 24 hours have elapsed, because the sages were concerned that one would forget and inadvertently cook in it before 24 hours have elapsed. They therefore ruled that since such a pot is forbidden to begin with, it may not be used until kosher. B'diavad, if one forgot that the pot absorbed the taste of forbidden food and cooked another food in it, if 24 hours passed from the time the non-kosher food was cooked, the food in question remains kosher. But if one knows that a pot had absorbed a non-kosher taste, but cooks kosher food in it anyway, the sages penalized him by prohibiting this dish for him and his family, even though the non-kosher taste in it had already turned foul.
Keep going.
Chametz utensils on Pesach. Vessels used throughout the year with hot chametz foods cannot be used during Pesach, since heat causes vessels to absorb the taste of chametz. In order to use such utensils in Pesach, one must first remove the taste of the chametz through hagala or libud. If one cooks in such a pot on Pesach, knowing that it had not been koshered, even if 24 hours have passed and the taste of chametz has been defiled, the cooked food is forbidden. As we have learned, the sages forbade such food in order to penalize people who deliberately cook in vessels that have absorbed chametz and have not been koshered. What if one errs and cooks in a pot that was not kosher for Pesach? According to Shulchan Aruch, if 24 hours have elapsed since the chametz was cooked in the pot, the food may be eaten on Pesach. Because the taste of the released chametz is foul, according to Rima, food is forbidden even though the chametz is foul because the prohibition of chametz is especially severe. Even the drop of chametz causes the food to be forbidden. Chametz utensils that one does not wish to make kosher for Pesach must be cleaned of any residual chametz and put away in a closed place so that nobody inadvertently uses them during Pesach.
Okay, take a look. There's one more word that he adds here. I'm going to add two words. I'm going to write it in Hebrew. Ta'am is taste. Hagun means foul. Taste. Ta'am. Foul. Foul taste. Pagum. So to the taste, it doesn't retain its potency, right? If it's greater than 24 hours, taste doesn't remain in, potent. It's no longer potent. Doesn't retain its power to make things non-kosher. So this is very important. It's very important during the year because if you use, let's say, you make some chicken soup in your milchik pot, the chicken soup is kosher if the pot was not used with milk for the last 24 hours. It's very, very important on Pesach, according to the Ashkenazim. If you use your chametz-dik pot to cook totally non-chametz food, even after 24 hours, the food is not kosher. Because this principle of the taste becoming foul after 24 hours does not apply to chametz. Chametz is more strict in the laws of meat and milk. And therefore, we definitely want to kosherize our pots and don't use the wrong pots. Don't use chametz pots on Pesach. Is that clear? All right, I hope that's clear. It's a mouthful, a lot of things to learn at once. Yes, sir?
Is tagun or pagun?
Pagum. Pagum. P-A-G-U-M.
Yes.
Ta'am. Ta'am. This is ta'am.
Not the.
This is P.
Okay.
P.
But in Hebrew.
Pagum. Pa.
Pa.
Pagum. Ta'am. Ta'am is the taste.
Yeah.
When you eat food for breakfast, I hope it's ta'im. Tasty. Right? Ta'im. Ta'am. Ta'am is taste. So there's taste from the food that enters the vessels, but after 24 hours, it becomes spoiled, foul, not significant halachically. So if you cook up chicken soup in your milky pot, a week ago you used it to make some cheese, the food is still kosher. The pot is problematic because the pot absorbed first milk and then it absorbed bisari, meaty taste. You have to kosherize the pot. The pot is problematic. But the food itself, if it's after 24 hours, that taste that it absorbed from the pot is not potent. So it doesn't make your food not kosher. It's important to know. Again, you're all turning into rabbis, all of you. This is what the rabbis study. The laws of kosher pots and pans and stuff like that. So this is Rabbinics 101. Maybe some of you should do conversion first, but The non-Jewish rabbi. How do you like that?
Everybody gets shmita.
Smicha. Ordination. Yeah.
Shmita.
All right. Anyways, by chametz, because of the chumrah, the severity of chametz, it's even worse than eating pork, eating chametz during that week. And so we have to make sure that our dishes that we use are kosher. How do we kosherize the dishes? 3 methods I already told you on the board. Some dishes, all you need to do is rinse them off.
Plastic?
Huh?
Plastic?
Nope. We're going to see that the only way that dishes become filled with taste of the food is if it's hot. And so which dishes is it enough to use? Shtifa, dishes that were never used with any hot food. So you have to find, we're usually we say, well, most dishes are used with hot food. And so it's maybe, but if you know that for sure, this cutting board or this container, you never put anything hot in it, all you need to do is rinse it off. Most foods though, most dishes, most vessels, we do use with hot food. We cook our food. Food is hot a lot of times. We have boiling hot water always. This is the way we like our food. This is the way we cook. And so therefore we have to use one of the other methods. Hag'ala or libun. Very good. So far so good? All right. Gedalia, I know you have riveting material there, but please join us on page 123. Will you read for us?
The most basic principle of koshering cooking utensils is that forbidden taste is released from the vessel in the same manner that it was absorbed. Ki bo o kach poto. There are 2 principal media through which utensils absorb taste: boiling liquid and direct flame. If a pot absorbs a forbidden food through a process of boiling, for example, if it was used to cook chametz, food like pasta or porridge, the pot is made kosher for Pesach by immersing it in boiling water, which causes the chametz taste to be released. The same applies to ladles and serving spoons. When used with chametz foods hotter than yad soldet, both hot enough to cause the hand to boil, they absorb the taste of chametz and must be kosher through immersion in boiling water. However, if a vessel absorbs chametz through direct heat of fire without a liquid medium, such as in the case of cake baked on a tray, dough baked on skewers, or
Jachnun
or kugel baked in a pot, it is koshered by means of heavy libun. That is, heating the vessel by fire until it gives off sparks or becomes red.
Okay, before you continue, already he used a term that's called heavy libun, because we're going to learn that there's heavy libun, and there's another type of libun called light libun. The heavy libun that's blowtorch, okay? That's like, since it comes red hot, gives off sparks, that's very, very hot. Light libun, we're going to see that it's heating it up to a very hot temperature, but not the extreme heat that you need to give off sparks. So we're going to see that there is actually 2 types of libun, but keeping it simple. You get the principle? The way the taste was absorbed, it comes out. So if we boiled up a pot of pasta and you had pasta, is that chametz?
Okay.
Why? Wheat, of course. Pasta is made with wheat, flour. And so that wheat flour taste is going to enter the pot. How do you get rid of it? You won't have enough money to buy a whole separate set of dishes and pots for Pesach. You go and you boil up water in the pot. You make sure that it overflows. It has to touch all parts of the pot. And then that takes out all the chametz taste. You throw out that water, and then you have a kosher lepesach pot. The same pot you use for your spaghetti, you can use it to make kosher for Pesach food on Pesach. As long as you put it through this process called hag'ala, boiling, okay? That's the primary method that I use to kosher my kitchen, is with hag'ala. I'm going to show you some pro tips.
Don't you use like an electric kettle? Doesn't that work?
That boils water. We're going to see some details. There's many more details, but the basic principle is if you are worried that taste entered the surface, the dish, the cutlery, whatever it is, if you're worried that taste entered it because it was used with hot food, but the hot food was liquid, then the way to get it out is by putting in boiling hot water or by boiling hot water in it. We'll see some fine differences. However, I have at home a skillet. Do you know what a skillet is? It's like a fry pan. A fry pan where I fry some schnitzels or some thighs, sometimes even wings. You just put them on it's a piece of iron, and you put that on the fire. No liquid, no water. It's like a barbecue. So then the chametz taste like a toaster, right? You have toast, bread. Well, bread on fire, that's how it gets heated up. So whatever touches that food is going to, if you want to make that kosher for Pesach, you're going to have to use lipun. You cannot put it in boiling hot water. That's not enough. If it absorbed the taste without liquid, with fire, so then it has to be released from the dish with fire. We're going to see the details of that. Now, the truth is, I like blowtorches just because they're fun, but they're very dangerous. I try to avoid using a blowtorch to kosher my kitchen. I'll teach you how to do it in such a way that you can kosher your kitchen without a blowtorch. Blowtorch may make it easier. There may be chumras, but boiling hot water should be enough. What is considered porous material? It's a good question. The standard halacha is that we assume most things are porous. Some things are very porous, and so porous that they absorb taste and they don't even spit it out. Such as clay. Clay vessels. If anybody has some kind of a ceramic pot that's not glazed, if it's glazed, the custom is to assume that the glaze is not so significant, and therefore glazed pots that are made from earthenware cannot be kosher for Pesach. Wood is porous, and wood can be koshered. We assume that it can be koshered. Pretty much only clay vessels, and therefore ceramics. We don't kosher them for Pesach. They're so porous, and the taste stays in them. So they cannot be kosher at all.
Is there anything that's considered not to be porous?
Some people say glass. Now, some people say glass is like,
Like the Sephardi community of Ashkenaz.
Exactly. Some people consider glass, well, what's glass made from? It's actually made from earth. It actually comes from sand. I think. I'm not an expert on it. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah.
Glass is made from sand. So sand is like earth. So earth, well, it should have the status of earthenware. So it can never be kosher. But there's another tradition, and the Sephardim follow this, and they say, actually, when that sand gets turned into glass is so smooth and hard, it's not porous at all. Therefore, there's some Sephardi families, until today, they use glass dishes for both meat and dairy, and for Pesach and for the year round. And they say, I just wash it off, I just have to rinse it, shtifa. If it doesn't absorb any taste, I don't have to kosher it. I don't have to do koshering, hachshara. Some posts can say a hold like that until today. Most do not, even Sephardim, do not say that you could just use your weekday dishes, your year-round dishes for Pesach. You have to, some say you have to do Haga'alah, some say you do Shtifa for 3 days in a row. We're going to see that there's something called soaking, which is sort of like a derivative of rinsing. Soaking it for 24 hours times 3. This is what some Ashkenazim do with their crystal, their fine glassware that they want to use for the Pesach. There is this sub-method of soaking for 3 days, but that's really not so common. The basic 3 are Shtifa, Hagala, or Libun, and there is a difference between Sephardim and Ashkenazim about glassware, but for the most part, the standard, simple understanding is that all materials absorb, and therefore we kosher them the way the taste was absorbed. That's the method used. Hagala for liquids, libun if there was no liquid there, just fire. So you have to use fire to take it out, and the exception being ceramics that we don't kosher at all. If most communities, yes.
So wood can't be kosher with libra.
Well, it'll burn. It'll get destroyed. Yeah, that's a good thing. Sometimes people, when they learn halacha, they turn off their brains, right? So doing libun, that's why I try to stay away from blowtorches, because people get so excited. All I have to do is blowtorch. So I'll blowtorch my house. Before you know it, there's no house left. Oh well. But I'm trying to make it kosher. Don't be an idiot. There's things which, if you take a blowtorch to your oven, the oven gets ruined. I know people that ruin thousands of dollars worth of kitchen equipment because they're trying to be from, and they're trying to use a blowtorch to make it kosher, but it gets ruined. If it gets ruined, is that a kosher method? Well, that's a meaningless statement, because if it's unusable, you haven't koshered anything. You've ruined something. The point of koshering it is enabling you to use it afterwards. So you cannot turn off your brain. Yes, that's right. If you blowtorch a vessel made out of wood, it will incinerate and it will become no longer a vessel. And therefore, you can use the ashes on Pesach, but that's not going to help you much to hold your soup. Yes, sir. Micha.
Well, I was thinking okay, so how is wood commonly kosher? So I would assume Hagala.
Good. That's right.
Like a wood ladle.
Hagala, it is. Yes.
But say in the instance that you use a skewer to cook a
cannot be kosher.
Kosher hot dog
unless if it's made out of metal, you put it in the fire.
But if it's a wooden skewer,
you want
to use that skewer to drink milk.
You cannot use the wooden skewer to drink milk, even if you tried. But you cannot use the wooden skewer for Pesach, because maybe once you put some bread on the skewer, or that there was some crumbs. Yeah, they're buns. That's right. So the skewer becomes chametzdik. That's full of taste of chametz. And the only way to get it out is libun. And if libun's going to ruin it, you can't. So put them away. Use a different skewer for Pesach. After 7 days are over, you can use that skewer again. Just you cannot use it on Pesach, because the only way to get the taste out of that skewer, which was used on a fire, is with fire, and then it'll burn it up. And then.
That's interesting. Has anybody ever thought of that before?
As I said, some people turn off their brains. And they think, well, I'll follow the law. The law says I have to do libun, so I'll burn my skewer. Then they wake up with no skewers. And they said, oh no, what do I do on Pesach? Well, you have to get different skewers. Well, then why did I burn up my skewers for it? Not for no good reason. You should just put them away and don't try to do something that's not going to work. But you are thinking correctly in terms that things that are wooden, that are used without the fire, without the liquid, on fire, they have to be koshered only with fire. And if it's impossible, it's impossible. There's some dishes you cannot kosher. You think you can kosher every dish in the world? We just said, Ashkenazim say you cannot kosher earthenware. Everybody agrees you cannot kosher earthenware. Some things you can't kosher. You have to put them away and use other dishes on Pesach. That's why some people, for example, personally, year by year, I do less and less hachsharat kelim, or the term we've been using is haga'alat kelim. You know why? Because each year I find it, I'm richer and richer. I make so much money as a teacher. I make so much money that every year I can afford to buy a dish designated for Pesach. And I have a box of dishes that I keep in my house only for use on Pesach. And the more that box becomes 2 boxes and 3 boxes, I have all the dishes I need. I don't have to do this at all. Right? I have my Pesach dishes. Like we said, extreme of that, people have Pesach kitchens. You don't have to do any koshering if you have a set of Pesach dishes. I mean, if you're using the same kitchen, then you have to kosher the counters and the sinks and ovens and so forth. But but the dishes, if you have more and more Pesach dishes, you don't have to kosher the cutlery and the dishes anymore. Is that clear? All right. We're going slow at the beginning because these were the basic principles. Okay. Turn the page. Go to page 124. Gedalia, will keep reading for us, please?
Mm-hmm. Absorption through a liquid medium is relatively mild, so boiling hot water is sufficient to extract the taste of the chametz from the utensil. Absorption into a tray or skewer is more intense, as the heat of the fire causes the taste of the food to absorb deep into the very particles of the utensil. Boiling water is insufficient to remove all the absorbed taste, and such utensils must be kosher by the same means that they absorbed by fire. This is heavy libun, in which the fire incinerates the taste that had been absorbed in the utensil. To highlight the difference, hagalah extracts the taste absorbed in the vessel, while libun incinerates it in situ. Therefore, before the undergoing hagalah, a vessel must be cleaned of any residual food, because hagalah releases the taste absorbed into a utensil, but does not destroy the residual food stuck to it. There is no need, however, to clean a utensil before libun, because any food that remains will be completely incinerated in the libun process.
Okay, so he's adding something else, by the way, that if you're going to do hagalah, you also have to do shtifa. You also have to make sure that there's no leftover residue of chametz. Besides worrying about the stuff inside the pot and the material, sometimes people don't clean well enough, and there's actually leftover chametz. So you got to make sure it's clean before you do the hagalah to get rid of the stuff that's inside the pot as well. Okay. Let's skip ahead to heavy and light libun. Number 5. Number 5. Okay, Eov Yosef, will you read for us, please?
Heavy libun means heating utensil by fire until the chametz taste in it is incinerated. One indication that libun has taken place is that the utensil undergoing libun becomes so hot that sparks fly from it when it is brought into contact with iron. Another indication is that its outer layer peels off or that it becomes red hot. Like libun means heating a utensil by fire to the point that a piece of straw or thread placed on the opposite side of the utensil can blacken from the heat. For example, to kosher a frying pan through light libun, one must place the pan over fire and then put a piece of paper on the frying surface. When the paper starts to become scorched, the pan has been kosher. Light libun is not effective when heavy libun is required, because the objective of libun is to incinerate any taste absorbed into the utensil, and this is only achieved through heavy libun. However, light libun is more effective than hagalah, because it is more capable than hagalah at extracting the taste of chametz from the utensils, and apparently it can also incinerate some of the absorbed taste. Sometimes when it is uncertain if libun is necessary one may suffice with light liquid. Light liquid has another advantage as well. If a utensil has surfaces that are
Crevices,
crevices,
small places, yeah.
that are difficult to clean, Hagala cannot kosher since Hagala removes the taste absorbed into a utensil but cannot render kosher the residual food stuck in its grooves. However, if one performs like Lubin and aims the fire at the grooves, the residual food will be incinerated and the utensil will be rendered kosher. Light Lubin can be performed by putting a utensil in an oven and heating it at the highest temperature for about half an hour.
Okay, yeah, okay, well done, well done. So we have a concept of light libun and heavy libun. I pretty much kosher my entire kitchen with hagala or light libun. Things which I'm worried about that the hagala is not going to be good enough. I put them in the oven for half an hour, and they're kosher. Okay, take a look at number 7. Micha, you're going to read this one because you had the bright idea of torching things. Yeah, we're skipping a little bit. To go to page 130 now, please.
Okay, utensils likely to be damaged by libun, baking trays. As we have learned, the objective of libun is to incinerate all taste absorbed into a utensil. To that end, the utensil must be heated to a very high temperature, more than 300 Celsius. There are two ways to tell that a vessel has reached such a temperature. One is that the utensil undergoing libun becomes so hot that sparks fly from it when it is brought into contact with iron. The other indication is that its outer layer peels off, or that it reddens completely. However, some utensils are likely to be damaged by this process. It is forbidden to kosher such utensils, ulibun, because we are concerned that in an attempt to protect his utensil from damage, the owner will not perform libun properly. For example, it is forbidden to kosher an earthenware vessel that has absorbed non-kosher food or chametz because the libun is liable to crack the vessel. Nor is hagala effective on earthenware vessels because their unique composition causes them to absorb taste but not sufficiently release it. The only way to kosher an earthenware vessel is to return it to the kiln, where it is impossible to protect it from the full force of the kiln's furnace. As a result, the vessel will either break and be lost or survive and be kosher.
Okay, so we don't kosher earthenware vessels because they're just going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonder pots.
Well, you can skip the next one. Skip to the next paragraph. Bottom of page 130.
Baking trays designed for domestic ovens become severely damaged by heavy libun. They lose their pleasant appearance and become warped to the extent that most people would no longer consider them usable. Therefore, they cannot be koshered through libun. There are, however, industrial baking trays. There are industrial baking trays that do not become seriously damaged by fire, and it is permissible to perform libun on such trays for Pesach. It is possible that one who knows that he will not care if his tray becomes warped and unattractive would be permitted in time of need to perform libun on such a tray. After all, every time libun is performed, there is a risk of some damage, and the sages only forbade libun where there is concern that the utensil will be completely ruined. When one will not be distraught if his baking tray is damaged, he may kosher via libun. In practice, that one should ask a competent authority what to do in this case.
Let me tell you a story. I went to the rabbi once with a question. Me and my chavruta, we were studying to be rabbis, and we're learning the laws of kosher food and kosher ovens. And it says in the books, the holy books, that you cannot kosher a tray for the oven. Because what we just read, that you need heavy libun, and it's going to get ruined, and nobody's going to do it enough. And me and my chavruta couldn't understand it. Why do you need libun? You never cook food directly in the tray. You have a baking pan on top of the tray. So we went to the rabbi, and we sit with him, and he says to us, I don't understand your question. Turns out that in different cultures, of course, he says to us, of course you bake inside the oven tray. Some Israeli ovens, you'll see them in some European ovens, the tray itself is not a flat shelf. Like here's your oven, okay? And inside the oven, you have little things on the side that right? That hold up a tray, a baking tray. And what do you have? You're used to having, sometimes it's like a
Great.
grate, exactly. A grate. So whether it's grate or whether it's a flat piece of metal, that's what the baking tray is. So when I grew up, we would never put food directly on here. We would have a smaller pot or baking tray, which you put the food inside, and that you put it on the shelf. Basically, this rack is just a shelf. But you don't put food on the rack. And apparently, most people in Israel, and maybe in Europe too, they actually, if you look at the design of the rack, it's not quite a rack, it's not quite a shelf. It has, you can see here, it has like lips on either side. And people actually use the tray itself for putting the food into it, baking cakes in the entire width and length of the oven. It's not, you're not limited by the size of a round pan. You have a special baking pan for a round. But if you wanted just to have a big cake the size of the oven, you put it directly, you put the food directly on those baking trays. So those pizza is a good example where you have the food directly on that rack. In any case, that's what he's talking about here, and that's why he says you would need libun on these trays because the food absorbs with fire directly into those pans. So they need libun, and the libun will ruin them. But to tell you the truth, in my home, we almost never do that. The oven trays are just shelves. They're just like a grate. They're a rack. And then we put another baking pan on top of it. And so there's a room to be lenient. If you're not going to use on Pesach, if you're not going to be using those oven trays for food directly, you can just do libun kal on them. Leave them in the oven while you're kashering the oven. Anyways, we'll talk about kashering the oven probably tomorrow. Leave them in the oven and then cover them with foil or something. And then if you're just going to use the food with another dish on top of them, I mean, nowadays there's even aluminum foil pans that you cook in. You're just using that tray as a shelf, then you can get away with no blowtorch and not ruining your oven trays. So you don't use them like he's describing here, that they're actually baking or cooking in the tray itself. You're just using the tray as a shelf. And sometimes things spill. Seder, if it spills, that's liquid. Then that can be rid of by hagala or libun kal. So that's a good, fascinating story I had when I was studying to be a rabbi. You really have to understand the reality of how this vessel is being used and there's different cultures. There's different cultures who use the vessels differently. Same oven, people think, oh, you have a rack and have an oven rack and everybody knows. But no, there's different ways of using it, and that affects the halacha, how severe you have to kasher those oven trays. Some people, though, they do cook in the oven trays, and they have a separate Pesach oven tray. They buy an oven tray to match their oven, so that they have one for the rest of the year and one for Pesach, because it's problematic getting that oven tray libun, because libun could ruin the tray, and you don't want to be an idiot, right? It's a mitzvah not to be an idiot. Remember that. Yes, you had a question, sir.
We in a room use a hot pot. So usually we make fried noodles, and sometimes
What do you mean a hot pot? I don't understand what it looks like.
it's like a rice cooker, yeah.
I see, yeah.
We make all the food in there.
Yeah, that's made out of ceramic, isn't it?
No, it's metal.
It's metal? Yeah. Okay. There's no ceramics whatsoever?
No. So we can't use it for Pesach because we make fried noodles which doesn't have any water.
If you took a blowtorch to it, you could, but it'll ruin it. Right. So you have to put it away. You can't use it. Well done. Well done. Excellent. You're applying the principles. We can't see every pot or every type of dish, but once you know the principles, then you'll be able to kosher your kitchen. Yes.
What about livelihood? Because you put oil in the fried noodles.
That's the passage we skipped about the fry pan. The passage about the fry pan discusses this issue. You put a little bit of oil, is that considered to be liquid? And so therefore a hagalah might be enough? Or not? We go the chumrah. Sometimes you actually, like I said with my skillet, put the meat directly on it, put the bread directly on it, like a toaster, right? You put the bread directly onto the skillet, the vessel. That's right. Not only is it mitzvah d'oraita, it's a special mitzvah d'oraita which is punishable by karet. It's a very severe mitzvah d'oraita. So we go the chumrah. That's right.
I used to have a toaster oven like that with the tray.
Yeah.
Not a big oven, like a toaster oven.
Yeah.
I like cook carrots directly on the tray and then wash it.
There you go. So you
convenient.
need a libun on that, and if it doesn't get ruined, fine. But if it does, you're in trouble. Totally get ruined. Yeah. So you can't kosher it. Toaster ovens are problematic because they're actually made of thin material and they could really get ruined easily. So my toaster oven, I put toast in it. I actually use it for bread sometimes, for barekas. I put them in the toaster oven. Barekas is chametz.
No toaster oven.
And so, it's very hard to do libun chamur on that, which you would need, yeah.
Is a non-kosher utensil found in your house violate the mitzvahs of chametz not being seen?
No, it doesn't. The taste is not considered to be significant after 24 hours.
Okay.
And if you're not going to be using it, it won't revive. So you keep it in the garage. You put it away. You lock it away, and you don't use it. You do not. Some people sell it to a non-Jew. You don't have to. If you sell it to a non-Jew, you're in trouble, because when you buy it back, you might have to do immersing of the vessels. There's a mitzvah called tevilat kelim.
Oh, because
you bought it from a non-Jew, but anyways. You sell the chametz in it. Anyways, even those who do, they sell the chametz in it, not the dish itself. It's complicated. But the bottom line is you don't need to. It's not chametz that you can see, touch. It's chametz which is spoiled already. And as long as you don't revive it, it's fine for it to be in your possession. If it's put away, it's not going to be used.
How are you allowed to sell foul chametz?
Exactly. Why not? You say any chametz that I have, foul or not. The guy takes a package deal. He gets a few beers and some. The chametz taste in the oven is what he's buying. Yeah, it's a deal. Okay. So the rest I think we're going to skip because go to page 10. We'll take we'll open up our Siddur. We'll do some stuff from the Siddur. I promised you some more songs. So if you can give everybody a Siddur, Micha, that'd be wonderful. Thank you so much. Last night I officiated at a wedding at the Kotel. Wasn't that cool? It was great. And tonight I'm officiating at another wedding for another young couple in Baka. Both in Jerusalem. Yeah, not far from where you live. And
how many people were there to the wedding?
About 100 people.
So it's like a public area. Where did they have the meal and everything?
The meal was at a restaurant nearby. There's underneath the arches, it's called, between the arches. Right to the left of the kotel, there's a walkway, and there's a restaurant there. That's where they had the meal. Yeah. And you know what happened? You're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me. It actually happened. I read about this in the newspapers, but it actually happened. Okay. First of all, this was an amazing couple. She's a Gioret from Austria. She grew up Protestant, teaching Bible, and she decided to take a course in university in Hebrew to read the Bible in the original. Brought her to Israel, one thing to the next. She got interested. and she did conversion, not once but twice. This is a long story. Amazing. Her parents, her Christian parents came and they read a passage from Tehillim under the chuppah. It was very interesting. Very amazing. He was Haredi, became not religious, became religious again. Complicated story, post-trauma from the war, lots of stories. Anyways, I met with them. I got called in to do this wedding last minute because somebody, the other rabbi, couldn't do it. Anyways, on the Zoom, I had a meeting with them. I didn't get to meet them in person before the wedding. So he says to me, I'm really worried about breaking the glass. So I don't want to get injured. So I say to him, listen, I've been doing this for 20 years. It just doesn't happen. Never happened to me in 20 years. It never happened. What do you think happened?
Oh no!
He breaks the glass and he says, oh, swear word, oh, because he got glass in his leg at the chuppah. Right after the chuppah, he stood there for another minute while we finished up matters. And then his friends, took off his shoe and there was blood. It was just horrible. Poor guy. He got cut by the glass of breaking the glass.
How does that happen? Is he wearing shoes?
He was wearing shoes. Apparently the shoes were whatever. It went through the leather of the shoes of the sole. And I thought it was just a fairy tale, but it actually happened. Poor guy. I'm thinking in my head, what am I going to do? From now on, I'm going to carry a metal plate with me to put underneath the chatan's shoe to avoid that. But it's very rare. It's never happened. Maybe 1 in 1,000, 1 in many thousands. But it happened. Poor guy on his wedding day got injured.
When
Terrible.
was the wedding?
Last night, 5
It
p.m.
was the venue overlooking the
Yeah,
the
overlooking.
right into the Temple Mount.
Yeah, it was a
Did
little
you
bit.
see the crowd?
No, I could see the kotel. I couldn't see the Temple Mount. I saw the trees, but you don't see the actual ground, the floor of the Temple Mount.
There's
But
one venue where you can see right.
there are many venues. Yeah, this one is there. At the same time we were having the wedding, there was a ceremony for a whole battalion of soldiers who were swearing in. They were changing their mefaked. It was a little bit of competition with the loudspeakers, but we managed, and it was very moving to do the wedding at the kotel.
What's happening on the mount right now? So the Muslims go to pray.
So no, I didn't see them. I didn't see them. Anyways, you know what the most moving part of the chuppah was? Page 231 at the bottom. Everybody sang together. We took a few moments to not forget the hostages, and we sang and prayed together for their well-being. Ha'achenu kol beit Yisrael, Ha'achenu kol beit Yisrael, Anetunim b'tzara. Tzara uveshivya, omdir belbaya hasha, achenu kol beit Yisrael. Can you translate the words now? What does Hanetuni mean? Hanetuni B'tzara Uve Shivya. Homing Hamakom Yirachim Yotzim Mitzara Nirmacha Uyafeila Leora Mishivot Legeula Hashta Bagala Ubezman Kari. We'll sing the high part one more time, but stop for a second. Before we sing it, look at those words in the second last line. Hamakom, what does that mean? Hashem. It's a nickname for Hashem. Hamakom, I thought of this yesterday when I was standing at the Temple Mount. We say that God is the place of the world. And the place from the world, our tradition tells us, the foundation of the universe was from the Temple Mount. The Even Hashtiyah, the foundation stone, is there on that Mount Moriah. So Hamakom means God. Yerachem will have mercy. The next word, pay attention, there's a hey. There's not a chet. Alehem. I don't want to hear any phlegm. Alehem. The chet, keep your phlegm for the Yerachem word. Got it? Yerachem alehem. Hey, H, just an H. No phlegm coming up on the second word there. Okay. Yerachem alehem will have mercy on them. You ready? Hamakom Rachem Alehem Yotziem Mitzorah Lehirvacha Umeafel Leora Mishabu Legeola Hashta Bagala Ubizman Kabri. Yov Yosef, how do you distinguish between the chet and the hey? How do you distinguish between the chet and the hey?
There's no space in between.
There's a hole. There's a holy hole in the H sounding hey. A hole, right? There's a space between there's a separation there between the leg and the roof of the letter. Very significant. Chet versus hey. Hey is with your breath. Yafeh.
Can we do it from the top again?
Tomorrow, B'ezras Hashem. Gedalia is getting bored. Turn to Purim. Purim, page, what page is it? The Purim songs? Shoshanat Yaakov, page 989. The Lily of Jacob. Shoshanat. Why does he say lily? Shoshana is a rose. It's a strange translation. Should be the rose of Jacob.
They translate as lily.
What?
In the Zohar English translation.
They translate Shoshana as lily?
Yes.
It's strange. I don't know why. Okay, yeah, it should be rose. The 13-petaled rose, right? It's a great book. The 13-petaled rose by Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, your favorite rabbi.
Not to study it intensely. I've heard it's like wine. You can give a kid wine before a meal, but you don't gulp the whole cup. But it helps you to enjoy studying Torah, which is the bread. So the Kabbalah is like a little taste of wine. You have a taste.
Okay. Rav Kook was a little permissive about that.
Yeah.
What?
Kook said we should study Kabbalah as well, but in the right measure, in the right way, with the right teachers. Be wary of those teachers on the internet.
I don't learn from anybody else.
All right, Shoshanat Yaakov, ready? Shoshanat Yaakov, Za'ala v'samecha.
989.
Steinsaltz.
Others.
989. He taught Chassidus. Chassidus is a translation of Kabbalah. It's our filter. It's like you're not allowed to look at the sun, right? If you wear shades, wear sunglasses, then you still shouldn't look at the sun bright too directly, but it does make it livable. So Chassidut, in many ways, is like the sunglasses for the Kabbalah. It teaches the Kabbalah through the filter for us to be able to swallow it, for us to be able to absorb it, to understand really what's going on there. Chassidut is, of course, there are non-Hasidic Kabbalists, and so maybe there's Polaroid, there's different kinds of shades, But anyways, Shoshanat Yaakov Tzahala v'samecha v'otam yachad Techelet Mordechai. Shoshanat Yaakov Tzahala v'samecha v'otam yachad Techelet Mordechai Teshuatam. Everybody see where I am? Hayita lanetzach v'tikvata bechol dor vador. Now we skip a line. At the end of this next line is Baruch Mordechai HaYehudi. Baruch Mordechai HaYehudi. Again from the top. Shoshanat Yaakov Zahala V'samecha Biro Tam Yachad Techelet Mordechai. Shoshanat Yaakov Zahala V'samecha Biro Tam Yachad Techelet Mordechai. Teshuatam Hayita lanetzach v'tikvatam bechol dor vador Baruch Mordechai HaYehudi. Baruch Mordechai HaYehudi. Okay, you got that? Shoshanat Yaakov is one of the Purim songs. One more Purim song. I'm going to ask you to look, please, for page 700. And I'm looking for the Havdalah prayer. Does anybody see the Havdalah prayer anywhere? I don't know where it is. Look at the table of contents. 783, please. Turn to page 783. Havdalah at home. Usually, we recite the words, all these verses, various verses, Isaiah, Tehillim, 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 and then look at the 6th verse. Where does it come from? Esther. It's a Purim song. La Yehudim. Look at the Hebrew, the second last line of the first paragraph. La Yehudim Hayita Ora V'simcha V'sason V'ikar. Hananel, read it for us, that line. Which line? It's line number 5 on page 783 after the 2 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Line 5, you see 2 dots in the middle. The next words are, Hananel, read it. La Yehudim. Hayita. Keep going. Vikar. Vikar. Okay. Gedalia, read that.
The Yehudim Haita Ora
Ora.
V'simecha V'sisun V'kar.
Vikar. Vikar. Micha. La.
Yehudim, Hayata, Hayta, Ora, V'simcha, V'sasan, V'sason, V'ikar.
Eov Yosef.
ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון בעיקר.
Excellent. Got it? Those are the words. What do they mean in English?
For the Jews, there was light and gladness, joy and honor.
Wow. So what's Yikar? Yikar is honor. What's Sason? Joy. What's Simcha? Gladness. And what's Ora? Light. La Yehudim is for the Jews. Haita was. For the Jews there was. For the Jews there was. There was light and gladness, joy and honor. Where does this verse come from? When did the Jews have light and happiness, joy and honor?
When they triumphed over their enemies.
When they triumphed over their enemies. That's right. Haman was hung. We survived. Praise the Lord. So the This was a time of happiness and light and joy and yikar, honor. They had honor. They were the downtrodden people, the people that had a death sentence on their head for the 13th of Adar. What do you think that's going to do to you at work? You go to work with your neighbors, you're having a beer, and say, ha, look, here's the Jew, wait till the 13th of Adar. They didn't have much respect. And now, 13th of Adar comes, we showed them who's boss, right?
Yeah.
He's boss. But all of our enemies were killed, and our leader becomes the viceroy to the king, Mordechai. Esther's the queen, the gorgeous queen. Everybody loved the queen. Remember Princess Diana?
Of course.
Queen Elizabeth just died last year. Everybody loves the queen, so everybody loved Queen Esther. She's Jewish, did you hear? She's Jewish. It was a secret for a long time. But, wow. You know what the Jewish people had, finally?
Light and gladness, joy and honor.
Honor. Rodney Dangerfield said, never get respect. No respect. No respect.
Around here.
Rodney Dangerfield. I don't think he was Jewish, but boy, this could be a good line for the Jews. Until Purim. We got the honor back, right? Light, happiness, joy. Okay, many tunes. So these, how many words is it? Layudi, Haita, Ora, the Simcha, the Sasovik. 6 words. You think you're going to learn those 6 words to say them properly?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Gedalia, try again. This time without mistakes. Fifth line after the 2 dots. Ve-sa-son. Vikar. The yud actually is silent.
Well, yeah, that's because if it comes after a vowel, it just takes.
It's a vowel. It's part of the vowel. It's part of the word V. V is the first syllable. Kar is the second syllable. Okay, which tune do you know? Okay, let's do that one then. La Yehudim, La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. La Yehudim, La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. La Yehudi, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. La Yehudi, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. Again, you got it? La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. Micha, listen to the tune. La Yehudim, Haita Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason, Vikar. The high part's a little different than that. Good, got it. Another tune?
They never sung anything for Havdalah.
But you're not in Chabad any longer, Gedalia. You're not in Kansas no more.
I don't like it when they sing too much.
You're not in Kansas no
It's
longer.
already I'm Ashkenazi.
The Carl Box saying,
What?
is there Ashkenaz?
What?
There's many.
Where are the Cowboys? I am a cowboy.
Okay, some songs actually have the next words which come from
There's no such
Havdalah.
thing as a Jewish cowboy.
What are the next words?
This approach in Argentina, the majority.
That's right. They were Jewish cowboys in Argentina. He's right.
I'm
It's
sorry.
true. So you're right.
In 1800s,
I want you to read the 6th line. After the 2 dots, the pasuk is over. No longer this is a quote from Esther. But in the Havdalah, the Jewish Havdalah, we add these three words. Kain, Tihiyeh, Lanu. You see them? Kain, Tihiyeh, Lanu. What does that mean? What does that mean?
So may it be for us.
So may it be for us. It's a little bit of a blessing that we add. Just, it shouldn't be only a story of Esther many years ago. It should be also for us. So may it be for us. Okay, ready? One more time. Hananel, you ready? La Yehudi, La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. The high part. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. A little faster now. Ready? La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. Three vowels. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. La Yehudi, Hayta Ora, Vesimcha, Vesason Vikar. One little hint about grammar. You see that the vav is the conjunctive, right? That's adds. This and this and this and this, so we use vav. Vav with two dots underneath it. What's that called, that vowel? It's called a shava. So the vav, the first word, vesimcha, has a shava, right? The second word, vesason, it has a shava underneath it, two dots underneath it. But the third word, the vav there, it's a conjunctive vav, but it's not a shava. What is it? It's a chirik, it's called. The one dot is called a chirik. And that, why does that, no, that's something else. Chirik. You're mispronouncing it, and it's a different vowel. Say Rei has the A sound. Chirik has an E sound. So why do you say wrong things?
Well, because you said hirik, which rhymes with sirik.
But there's no such word, sirik. There's no such word. Anyways, admit your mistakes and quit while you're ahead. Chirik is an E sound, and why does the third vav not have a V sound, but a V sound? It's because the beginning of the word is yakar, has a yud. A yud is a special letter. It's one of those four special letters that doubles consonants and is vowels. And so sometimes when you have a shava before a yud, or an aleph, or a hey, or a vet, right? Or a vav, excuse me, if you have vav in front of a vav, the vowel changes. So instead of being a v, it's a v because of the yud. Because the yud is a special letter. So that's why vesimcha, vesason, vikar, not yakar. The yud gets sort of absorbed.
Why did Rabbi cook pour water in the Kiddush cup?
That's a good question. It's a good
It says
question.
in the footnote.
It says in the footnote?
It says on the page we're looking at.
So you can read the explanation right here.
But that Hivdalah-
Mixing the din and the rachamim, but not for Havdalah. He did not at Havdalah. For Kiddush he did.
Wait, what is it?
Havdalah he did not. So you can read it. You can read it. He talks about this Kabbalistic concept of the wine representing the harsh judgment. The water is a sweetening of that's the attribute of mercy of Hashem. You want to have the mercy with the strict judgment coming together. So, but on Havdalah you don't need it. I know lots of stuff, but I can't teach you everything at once. and you're asking me, explain to me E equals MC squared, when you don't even know 1 plus 1 equals 2. So, that's not the right time. There's a time. You're going to get there, of course. You're progressing very quickly. Of course, of course.
Teaching you 1 plus 1 is equal to 2.
I'm busy teaching you 1 plus 1 equals 2, and we're getting very quickly. Soon we're doing multiplication tables. Before you know, we'll be doing calculus.
Will we be able to download the contents of each other's lecture someday?
I
could just download all.
Have a lovely day. Have a lovely day. Sat Hashem.
Computers.
It's not all about knowledge. It's about the process of learning and getting closer to